Canadians, this video is for you guys, especially those that are thinking about making the move to free America. Let's go. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notifications bell so you can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Our real estate team, we get calls, texts, and emails every single day from people just like you trying to learn more about North Idaho. And if you guys are thinking about making the move right now or 12 months from now, it doesn't matter. Give us a holler. Let's chat. We'll get you dialed in on this end. All right. I'm sitting here with the lovely and talented Eric Boardman, and we are going to talk all about Canada today. We have had a tremendous number of people from Canada reaching out that are thinking about moving to North Idaho, and for good reason. We're going to dive into that today, some of the stats, some of the facts, and kind of go from there. So if you guys are in Canada making the move, like lots of other people that have reached out, hopefully you'll get some value out of this. Hopefully you'll have some comments and, you know, if we're wrong, steer us in the right direction a little bit. But I think Canada is very similar to a lot of states in the US where, and I know it's not a state, I'm just saying it's similar to states in the US where you've got these dense urban populations that have been infected with the woke mind virus, for lack of a better term. And then you've got these outlying rural areas with just good people, a lot of blue collar, people that are just trying to live their life and raise their families how they see fit, and they are being told otherwise by the government. So that's kind of the gist. We're gonna back some of that up with some facts, and we'll go from there. I wanna start off with the population of Canada, I did a little research, is 41 million total, okay? So let's lay that groundwork there. It's not a huge number by any means.
No, compared to the United States, that's relatively small.
Right.
I think you said it, man. I think Canada's like it's they don't have the U.S. Constitution, so it's completely different. They've got their territories over there. Isn't that what those are called? They don't have states, and those like Alberta doesn't have individual sovereignty from the rest of the country. So I think, you know, those states, we kind of take that for granted here, that each state is supposed to be able to govern itself nearly independent from our federal government. Not independent from, but they should be able to make some of their own decisions. So when we talk about our other podcasts, you know, like Seattle, you know, the tail wags the dog. Seattle directs everything else that happens in Washington State. I think they get that over there quite a bit. And I think you're just running into, I think like a lot of other places, I can say COVID now, right?
Yeah,
I think that opened up a lot of people's eyes to what their government is like and how fragile their individual freedoms actually are. You know, when governments, they were extremely restrictive there. And, you know, there were people, it was completely shutting businesses down, putting people out of business. And when you add that to an extremely inflated taxing system for people that actually work and contribute, it lends itself towards looking outside of your own country. Yeah.
I mean, I fully understand that desire to seek out, you know, freedom-loving places. I love that about the United States because you're right. The states have their own somewhat sovereignty to make laws that affect the citizens. And, you know, if you don't like those laws, you're welcome to move to another state that the laws are more favorable. Abortion being a big one for a lot of people, right?
Absolutely. Whatever your beliefs are, we have 50 states you can choose from and go find what aligns with you the best. And by and large, you know, you can cross all of those borders without any issue. You know, no papers required. Go pick the state that fits you the best. Just don't complain when you go to that extremely progressive state and you take home less of your money.
Yeah.
Or they smash you on property taxes.
Right. Those are two big ones that Canada, I think, is the citizens of Canada are struggling with right now is taxes and things like that. Let's talk about my immigration first.
Okay.
Right. This is a big topic. I pulled up some stats. Let me throw these out here. So 2024, Canada admitted approximately 483,000 new permanent residents. 2023, 471,000. And then overall, the population growth in 2024, so this is a little bit different than that first number, was 744,000. 97% of that growth was international migration.
Right.
And we know where they're coming from, right? It's predominantly Muslim countries. And we know this anecdotally and factually as well. This is coming from a lot of stories people have told us that live there. And I have no problem with immigration. That's great, right? The United States was founded on that. My family came over through Ellis Island and immigrated to the U.S. The risk, and we've seen this in the U.S. as well, is that a lot of these folks coming over, they may be great people. I'm not saying anything against them, but they are unwilling to assimilate into the existing culture there, and they're bringing their own culture with them. On face value, that sounds great. Diversity, yeah, that's cool. We have lots of cultures that mix together, and that's what makes, a country like the U.S. very unique. But the downside is when they don't assimilate and they bring their cultural beliefs that don't align with the existing cultural beliefs and they're unwilling to bend, then you get friction. And that friction, I think, is a driving factor in a lot of people wanting to leave.
Probably contributes to some of their major assault crime rates going up significantly year over year in the past. They have extremely limited or extremely reduced gun rights there. That's not a part of their constitution, which we'll get into that later. So their gun violence rates are less than the United States, but their violent assault rates have gone up a lot. And I think you said it best, man. I'm all for immigration, when it's regulated, but if there's a complete failure to assimilate to the new country you're moving to, why are you moving there in the first place? It's not that you need to leave behind your past or what makes you unique. There's some other cultures that I truly value. Like the Hispanic culture is awesome. It's such a tight family unit.
Right.
I very much value, what some of those cultures bring to the table, but that doesn't mean you don't assimilate to the sense of nationalism for the country that you're moving to. And I think that's where people start to look at it. You grow up somewhere, you're tied to it. You grew up in New York, you still have ties to that area. I grew up in Spokane. I loved where I grew up, and it sucks seeing it change so significantly. And part of that's that sense of nationalism and pride of belonging when you don't even recognize it anymore. And they're announcing prayers at night. It's like Dearborn, Michigan. Can you even recognize that right now?
Very strange.
What Austin was talking about in Minnesota, where there's literally, there's Muslim prayer services being echoed throughout speakers across American cities. It's wild to me. And that's not to say anything about the religion. Go practice that yourself, but across the entire city. That's forced assimilation the other way.
It is. And okay, if one religion or culture is allowed to do something, then everyone should be allowed to do it, in my opinion. So now you're opening the gates to, okay, you guys can blast Muslim prayers, but we're going to blast Christian prayers over there. And it's just, why? I mean, it doesn't need to happen. It's the same concept of people trying to be inclusive are actually excluding a lot of other people.
Yeah, when you're getting all of the trans pressure that I need to recognize the 57 different. No, I don't need to do that, but it's forced assimilation otherwise.
Yeah, live your life however you choose to, and we are a full supporter of that. But once you start forcing that lifestyle on other people, then it opens the floodgates. Now we can all force our lifestyles on everyone, and that's not how this works.
And I think that's where you've got this huge push out of Canada, where you have good, productive members of society. We say how states compete. Well, apparently countries are competing now too. Yeah. And you got to think, man, I try to put myself in their shoes, and I talked to several. We've had an influx here lately, and I've talked to one that we sat down with at the old coffee shop downtown, a year and a half, 2 years ago, and he still says, it was Jeremiah, but he still stays up with me, and I try to put myself in his shoes. Think about sitting and making the decision to not only uproot your family and move, be an expat, but you're going to take a 30 to 40% hit right off the dollar exchange rate, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
We're going to have a guy on the podcast in a week or two that just did it. He just said, I just ripped the Band-Aid off, man. I was done. I was out. Talked to my buddies, decided to pull the trigger, and actually can't pull the trigger there. There's restrictive gun laws. But Alberta seems to be the place that we're getting a ton of them from. They just seem like good old boys. They already seem like they're North Idaho. They don't care about snow or ice, and they like to be outside and fishing and hunting and out in the woods. So geographically, I think the transition's easy, but they just hate what's going on in British Columbia. They hate what's going on in Ontario and Quebec, and that they can't escape it.
I think back to the immigration thing. Yeah. I think a big factor is here. There's two things going on. One, the political people in power are buying votes, right? Well, I mean, that's happening in the U.S. I don't care what you say. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah. You are buying votes by bringing people in and then providing social welfare programs so that they have a good way of life or better way of life than where they came from, and then expecting something in return in the form of votes.
Not investment, man.
That is a fact.
Yep.
You can argue that all day long. I don't care. That's just the way it is. Canada's doing the same thing. And some of this is anecdotal from people I've heard. So I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Don't attack me. Just correct me. Some of these immigrants coming into Canada, once they get citizenship there, they can bring in family members. Mm-hmm. If those family members are of a certain age, I want to say it's 60, somewhere in there, they are immediately put on a pension program. So we had a couple from Canada come in here, and they told us that when they pay taxes, they pay into 2 pension programs, one for them and one for the immigrants that are coming in. So what they're seeing is a lot of people are coming into Canada, getting citizenship. Some of that's through having a child there, I think. And then the parents of the grandparents can immediately come into that culture, and oftentimes they will lie about their age, saying they're above the age, and receive a pension immediately. So having put nothing into this country, no backbone, never paid taxes there, nothing, they show up and immediately get a pension. Like, that's a pretty good deal. I can't blame them for doing that.
And I'll bet they vote too.
Oh, yeah. We know how they vote, right?
Right.
They want to keep that.
Having never contributed to the system. That's one of my biggest gripes, and I think it would be a downfall of our republic, is that you have so many people whose votes are the same as those that are contributing directly to the system that are naturally just going to vote to put more into their own hands.
Right.
Of course they're going to vote that way.
Yes.
Right? Especially coming from cultures where they pool all of their money together and use it as almost one unit.
Right.
I would question how many of them are productive members of society.
Sure, and they may be, but still, the U.S. does the same thing. You know, they get benefits in terms of free healthcare, things like that, right?
Oh yeah,
it's all happening.
Yes,
but that to be faced with the crippling taxes that they pay up there and working hard. We had a guy come down from the oil fields up in Alberta. And
yep.
What did he say? He works like 28 days out of the month. Just something ridiculous, like grinding.
Oh yeah,
just to pay. Whatever the tax rate, we'll get to that. Just to pay that. And then you have people that are coming to the country that never done anything there to this date.
Right.
And they immediately receive that pension. That would piss me off so bad.
And to see what's happening, so you come back to your city and don't even recognize
and then you
it
don't
anymore.
recognize
You're
it
like, what am I paying for?
Yeah.
We said about Washington. What are you paying your exorbitant tax rates for so you can have the 4th most crime-ridden state in the country? That's bullshit.
This is the good roads, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But then you look at property taxes. That's my favorite conversation. I love bringing up property taxes, what people paid for a house that somebody's going to look at, and they're from Western Washington. It's like, oh, what'd you pay for? Roughly, what do you think your house is worth over there? They'll tell me. Oh, what'd you pay in taxes last year? They're like, oh, $8,500. I'm like, oh, that's cool. This house is $250,000 more, and they paid a third of that or a quarter of that.
That's crazy.
So up there, it's nuts. I know it's crazy. I know that one of the fastest ways to get good citizens to leave your community is to make them feel like they're a resource that's being exploited.
Yep.
And I think that's what you're running into there.
Yep.
Good, hardworking Canadians. And not to get it wrong, I love the Canadian culture. Like
Heck yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to sneak up into British Columbia and go to the Kokanee beer factory when I had a fake ID.
Nice, dude.
Statute of limitations over. Don't anybody. Don't say nothing. But I had a blast up there, man. Hardworking, fun.
Yeah.
We were moored up next to a Canadian Navy ship. They served alcohol on their ship.
Get out of here.
Oh yeah, I swear to God, they make this stuff called moose milk. It was like vodka with it was so freaking good. But they were awesome.
Milk.
Yeah.
That's
Canadian
cool.
Navy was legit, and we know they've got some Canadian Special Forces guys that are the real deal. I think the longest range sniper confirmed kill is a Canadian Special Forces guy. But anyways, there's some of them that worked overseas, bust their ass. There's some cool people that live up there, but it's hard for them to recognize their own country now.
And when you're faced with, we have states like this. The U.S. hasn't gone this far yet, but some states have gone this far. When you're looking at fixing this problem, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that can be fixed in one election. This is a generational thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they're already there. I mean, they've gone too far. The UK is the same way, right? Like their culture is being
you can't unring
erased.
That. Yes, that's exactly
Which is a shame.
No
culture should be erased.
It's
right?
so freaking sad, and you just gotta wonder. In United States, sometimes there's been times where I've thought that we were too far gone already, and I thought that even with an election, it was putting a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound, right? Just because the radical left has played the long game. They've eaten up our education systems, and they just played that long game better than we did.
Right.
We're too busy working, but you just gotta hope. I still hope that for Canada. I hope that it can swing back, but they had 106,000 people leave in 2024.
Wow.
And you're replacing that with what? Foreign immigration.
Right.
So what is that doing for your culture there? Is that and what kind of people do you think are the ones that are leaving?
Right. They're not the qualified citizens. The qualified citizens, as you say all the time, they are going somewhere else because they're done.
And they're bringing their work ethic with them. I talked to a lady just last week, and she was like, here's the business I think I'm going to start down there. I was like, heck, like already thinking that way. Because then they got to go through like the E2 visa, or is it B2? I remember, but the working visa down here. I did want to clarify in my research, somebody thought that Canadian citizens could not buy houses here if they were here on a green. You can. There's just restrictions in regards to, in Idaho, I mean, there are just restrictions in regard to large acreage and agriculture. And I think what they were trying to avoid is those big Chinese buy-ups that we were experiencing, in the last 4 or 5 years.
Which I appreciate that Idaho is staying ahead of that. That's cool.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, that's good you clarified that because I was under that impression as well. I heard someone told me that, and then I hadn't looked into it. So
everything that I've read shows that you still can.
Okay,
but that's part of that process. You mentioned tax brackets.
Yes,
they're depending on your province. It's 40 to 53% is their tax bracket.
My God.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they just passed this last year. June of 2024, capital gains inclusion raised to 66.67%.
66%.
And that was over that was at $250K, which as we can tell from our business, if you're bringing, that's not that, you're not this super wealthy.
Wow.
Yeah, 2/3.
Over.
Just in taxes.
I can't even fathom that.
Well, and what they love to talk about is they'll bring up universal health care.
Right.
Because they have a funded healthcare system. Talk to people that have lived there and ask them what that experience.
9 months out for an appointment, things like that.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. I had somebody I dated up there, and her dad had to get knee surgery, and they screwed it up. They messed up the knee surgery. He had to wait another 9 or 10 months. He lost his job in the interim because he couldn't move, and they couldn't go back in and fix it. I mean, and then even that surgery didn't go very well. So he's miserable. Absolutely miserable.
That is
trying
insane.
to get through that healthcare system. So
I begs the question. Do the immigrant population, do they have to wait as long?
That's a valid question. I don't know, but they certainly contribute to the weight and the burden on the healthcare system. Think how wild that is, though. You can come over from a completely different country to Canada and immediately get a pension and immediately get free healthcare.
Why would you not go?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a huge motivator right there. For reference, last week, my hand has been hurting for months now. Last week I called a hand doctor and I have an appointment on Monday. Less than a week.
Right. We can complain about our healthcare system, but I still think it's one of the best, if not the best in the world. I don't like rates either. I think it's BS that there's some stuff out there where if you pay out of pocket, it's one cost, but if you go through your insurance, your premium ends up being more than the out-of-pocket. It is. Oh, it's 100%. It's a scam. And then you've got, the number one expense for a primary care physician is medical malpractice insurance because lawyers, right? There are things about it that piss me off, but I still think you're going to get the best. Why is that? Because doctors aren't going to get paid the same across the board in the United States. It's free market capitalism. The best ones from other countries are still going to come here because you can get paid way more here.
Yep.
If you're the best, you're going to get compensated for it. So, but healthcare is a whole other thing. I know it's imperfect. And there's going to be people that blow us up about that. And I'm not a huge fan of, I think there's corrections we can make here as well. But just know that the universal healthcare system that they love to tout as being so much better in Canada. Talk to people that live there. Anybody that does live there and says we're full of crap, tell us in the comments.
Please.
Tell me how quality that system is up there, because everything I've heard from people up there say it's terrible.
Yeah.
But they do ask that question when they come down. Hey, what's that going to cost us when we come down? Because they're not used to it. So that is an expense you have to get used to after you get eaten with that 30%. I've also heard that Canada, if you leave the country and become an expat, they're going to tax you on the way out. Not just the conversion rate, but they're going to tax you on the way out.
I wonder
They're going to get their piece.
if there's a way to hide that money, shield that money.
I hope so.
I would hope so.
I don't care, Canadian government. I don't care.
Right.
Yes, you should not be able to extract even more when you've run good, productive member country out of the country. You shouldn't get to tax them to fund your bullshit policies.
It's insane. I mean, I know Gavin Newsom in California has talked about trying to do that for people leaving California. Right. And I'd be like, good luck, dude.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Oh, yeah. I'll retain my address there and go live with my cousin.
Pretty sure that's not constitutional.
Yeah, and if it is, it's going to be a California extradition only warrant.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I'm just never going to go back.
They don't extradite. Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't have to go back. That sounds awful.
Let's talk about gun rights.
Oh, yeah.
That's a doozy, man. I've got some anecdotal stories on that too, but you got some facts?
Yeah, so there's a couple. There's a possession and acquisitions license, and that's for non-restricted firearms, which are pretty much limited to hunting rifles and shotguns. And then you've got a restricted possession and acquisition license, which is for handguns and some other AR-style rifles, but they've really regulated the AR-style rifles as well. It's extremely restrictive there. Their magazine bans are pretty radical. Let's see, prohibited short-barrel handguns, fully automatic. Okay, that's fine. A large group of so-called assault-style rifles and mini models have been reclassified over time, and they've expanded those laws in 2024 to make them more restrictive.
Oh, boy.
So gun ownership there is difficult. People that were grandfathered in, they were okay, but it's almost impossible. They're saying it's extremely difficult to even buy a new handgun there. Heavily regulated. There was a national handgun freeze on purchase and sale or purchase and transfer of handguns in October 2022.
So anecdotally, I've been told that, please correct me if I'm wrong, that say you have a pistol in your house, you have to have a trigger lock on the pistol, a slide lock on the pistol, and then the pistol in a locked box, at least.
Firearm unloaded, trigger locked, or
slide locked,
or locked in a secure container.
Okay.
Ammo stored separately.
Stored separately. So even in your own house. And I look at that, and they probably don't have a castle doctrine, I would think, like we do here in Idaho. No. So,
there was a dude in Canada talking about, I was watching one of their, I don't know what they call their cops up there, but one of their police chiefs encouraging people to just leave them alone and let them take whatever they want if they home invaded in your house, discouraging them from taking.
It's a viable tactic, right?
Absolutely. It'll certainly discourage that behavior from before.
That's completely insane. And, I've also been told that if you were to have to use your pistol in self-defense and go to court, they would have you demonstrate how long it takes to remove your pistol from all of the locking mechanisms, load it, and then confront the attacker, and then combine, transpose that against the time of the assault and all of this stuff to try to prove that
you didn't have it.
You didn't have it. You didn't have it locked correctly.
Wasn't legal. They say very clearly in here, gun ownership in Canada is treated as a regulated privilege, not a constitutional right.
Thank God for the Second Amendment in the U.S.
Well, it's like those guys knew what they were doing.
Right.
And that was not for just self-protection against bad guys. That was regulation against our own government.
Which Canada could use a little bit of right now.
Yeah, because of them just feel like they're completely helpless and they're at the whims of the other provinces.
And I imagine this is a classic example of, the frog in boiling water, and it's been a slow, steady erosion of the rights, right? Yeah. You try to do it all at one time, it never works out because there will be people that stand up.
Right.
But if you do it very slowly in the incremental steps over many years.
Nobody's going to know.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. Oh, they get pissed off. It's like, all right, it's not that big a deal. They just ban, they 10 round magazine capacity. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 5 rounds center fire and 10 rounds for handgun. Wow. That's their magazine capacity there. I agree with you, but if you ever thought about it at any other point in time and you flash forward 10 years, you're like, yeah, 10 years ago, if you'd have told me that, I'd have told you get effed.
Yeah.
Right? But they didn't do that.
Right.
They just slowly eroded it and said it's about safety.
And we see that here in the U.S. I mean, it's constantly under attack here. There are many states that are just as bad as Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Washington, California, for example. Thankfully, in Idaho, it's the Wild West.
Yeah, everybody's heard me say this, but I'm not going to say Idaho's not going to fall. It's just going to be the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, you anticipate everybody. Can you imagine somebody doing a home invasion? You're legitimately taking your life into your own hands 100%. If you do a home invasion here. There's a lot of dudes that have daydreamed about this particular moment for a really, really long time, and they have it all picked out, right?
They got their NVGs sitting on the nightstand next to the AR, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You better hope it's a lethal shot. You might be in the basement for a little while after that. Wearing a freaking GIMP mask.
And, I mean, an armed society is a polite society.
Yes.
North Idaho is a very polite society.
And we get that all the time where people are moving here from other places. They're like, I don't want, glass windows on the back. I don't want a glass door.
Yeah.
It's like, buddy, I cannot wait for you to move here.
Like measuring for bars while we're on the window while we're doing a showing. I'm like, you're not going to need that.
No, not up here, man. The only home invasions I ever saw on patrol were like Doper on Doper, where they were like legitimate rips for drugs and stuff like that. Otherwise, nobody did home invasions here. No. Like you get burgs at construction sites on occasion, but yeah, nothing. Nobody's going to make that. They're not going to take that risk.
You will pay the price.
Right. It's funny. It made me think of Eastern Oregon. When they were doing that big movement towards the greater Idaho, how they wanted to secede and do that. Alberta's got one out right now. They want to secede from Canada. Alberta, because they have the oil fields. I mean, they've got the legitimate import-export, and they're like, a few of them are like, God, we'd just love to become a part of Idaho. Like, that would be so cool. That'd be really cool. But
We'll take them.
yeah, and you know Canada will never let that happen.
Oh, no.
And
Oh,
because
no.
they have no constitutional gun rights, they couldn't require that their government allow them to exercise any of their rights. Like, that's the thing. If you have no teeth, how do you enforce
Right.
or force your government?
I mean, they don't even have like we have a National Guard, right?
Yeah.
Or, right? The Idaho
Yeah.
National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So each state has some ability
And why is that?
to protect itself.
Its own sovereignty.
They don't
to
have
protect-
that,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I don't know. It's a tough deal. And I think, again, COVID's a big eye opener to see how your country's actually going to treat you and your individual freedoms. And I think a lot of their eyes were open then. And now they're just looking at it going, okay, it sucks. It's 30. I don't envy their position, but I respect the hell out of them. They're
Yeah.
looking at it going, yeah, I'm going to take this huge hit on what we actually make now. The last couple have been military, military vets, either retired or just got out or whatever, but they've got some sort of pension. Their pension's not going to be worth as much.
Oh, because that'll get a hit on that.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's not like they moved to the States and all of a sudden it converts.
Oh.
I mean, they're looking at a consistent, and it's still worth it. I mean, that's committed.
All right, so we get somebody that's like, I'm hearing all you're saying. I'm in. I align with my values. I'm a hardworking man or woman, and I want to come there. How do they do it? Is it even possible for everyone?
Yeah, that's a good question. I pass them off. There was an attorney that was recommended by somebody we're going to have on the podcast in the next week or two, and he'll be able to talk a little bit more about that process looks like. But you got to look at having some sort of working visa, which means you need to be working down here, starting a business or something like that. That seems to be the clearest path forward. I would at least reach out and see what that looks like, what that path towards citizenship looks like, or national, getting that green card.
Yeah.
That would be step one. And then you start looking at what the conversions will be with your assets there. But a lot of them are already looking at selling their homes there and then coming here and taking the hit, even if the home's not as nice. It's worth it to be here.
Yeah. I mean, man, that's crazy. So I know we've had quite a few people that have, they're married. One of the spouses is a U.S. citizen.
Right.
That is the easiest path, right?
Yes.
Marry someone from the U.S. or already be married to someone from the U.S. and then you have that ability to move in here.
That gets into like some Russian mail order wives stuff, but I think that's pretty righteous. I know I saw there was an Idaho singles group on Facebook.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, exactly, just to get there. But one of them was talking about bringing his firearms down. That's a beast.
I imagine. So that's where you get in touch with an immigration attorney, right?
Yeah, for a country that doesn't want any guns in their country, they sure don't make it easy for anybody to come back over here with them. Where I look at it as in Idaho. And I think I'd ask BZ about that. He goes, honestly, I don't know. I was like, that'd be a good one to know. I think that's the next big avenue.
Right.
Is how are people going to get their firearms out of Canada into the United States?
I'm writing a note because he wants to come back on the podcast, and that'd be a good topic to talk about.
Heck yeah. No, it'd be cool. And again, I don't blame him for that, but I just don't see, it reminds me of our conversation with Bill Kirk, I don't see them coming back. Like you get so far gone up there, and when you're trading good citizens at a clip of 106,000 per year, and you're immigrating more from outside that are going to naturally vote for more free stuff, how do you fix that? Washington's got that problem now. They're losing good citizens every day.
Yeah, quite a bit.
And they're bringing in shit.
Yeah. So what's that trade-off? What's that look like in 10 years for either one of them?
Yeah, well, I don't mean to say shit, just less productive members of society that are going to create a significant burden on the infrastructure.
That's a much nicer way to say it.
Yeah, I know, I'm trying here. Well, I don't want to make it seem like, because there are some people that have to move there and it just sucks. Like their military requirements or job requirements, or, I know I got a buddy over there that works for King County, and he's divorced, and his kid, he can't leave. Like he's locked in over there.
Yeah.
Hates what's happening in that state. And Canada's just, I think I said this to somebody the other day, Canada's just a bigger Washington.
Yeah.
Right? Where
accurate.
It used to be awesome, and then they violated the boiling frog technique. They just went crazy left right away. Crazy progressive.
Well, got any more facts for us?
No, that was really about the gist of it. I mean, I went over crime rate. I was kind of surprised because Canada kind of touts itself as being really, really safe. Their homicide rate per capita is actually less than the United States. Their overall violent crime is slightly less. Now, we're still taking into account, we still have Chicago and we've got DC, but it is very slight. But major assaults, robberies, serious violent offenses is higher.
Shocker.
In Canada than it is in the United States. And you're dealing with a much less dense population, but man, and up there they cook books too.
Yeah.
But you just got to wonder if that's
an unarmed society is not a polite society.
Exactly. Especially if it's not constitutionally if they are not constitutionally able to defend themselves with a firearm. And they're going through things like, oh, you didn't have it a lockbox, you were way too fast. That's crazy to me.
Having been a cop that lived through times that changed and having to worry about these decisions you make in a split second, being judged by, someone that has all the time in the world to look them over, a judge, that's scary. You don't want to hesitate when your life or your family's life is in your hands. That's the worst time to do it. And if you have to think about, are they going to be able to calculate that I had my gun, that my gun was in the drawer and it was loaded? Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, but that just makes you hesitate even more.
Makes you hesitate.
In a situation where you're already behind the decision-making curve. I would say this to those out there that are kicking it around. Like, we're not experts in this. We're not immigration attorneys. But there's a lot of people, Reddit can be a pretty valuable resource for people that have done it before, just to give yourself a realistic timeline and then understand what your conversion is going to look like. Find out what that tax burden is on the front end and see if it's doable. You can be selective in the United States. So pick your state. Yep. Look at some of the values. When we're talking about crime rate and the homicide rate in the U.S. is higher than it is in Canada, well, that accounts for a lot of the more violent cities. We talk about Idaho as the safest state in the country statistically right now. I guarantee their homicide rate is less than it is in Canada. But just pick your state. Our states have sovereignty here, so you can select it based on the values that fit you and your family.
Yeah, perfect.
And hit us up. And we got some, the cool thing about, Canadians are awesome. Any of them that I talk to, they're like, no, have them call me. Yeah, have them hit me up.
Totally.
Hit me up. No, I'd love to chat them. I'll chat them up, tell them about what my immigration procedure looked like, where I'm at in the process now, who they should contact. They're referring out their lawyers and stuff like that, so it's kind of cool. So we have a pretty good network, and if you guys got any questions on the front end, hit us up. And please, if you have some additional facts or something that relates to this, man, throw it in the comments. Yeah. We'd love to start a discussion. We'd like that becomes a forum. We're by no means experts.
Nope. All right.
Cool.
That's it. Thank you, guys.
Cheers,
hey, if you're thinking about making that move to Idaho, like you already live here or need to sell a home, whatever, we got you covered. Our real estate team is top notch. We are all former first responders and or veterans. We'd love to help you out.
And we feel for you guys. Yep. There's hope out there. We're encouraged to see good, productive members of society seeking out freedom.
Yeah.
And they will contribute undoubtedly to what makes North Idaho cool.
Later.
Cheers.